Warm welcome to an exclusive episode of the Monday Morning Learning Podcast. And very happy to have Velu on the podcast today. Any welcome words, Velu, before I start up with your introduction on the themes?
No, thank you for the opportunity to be part of this podcast. I'm humbled and hope it is useful for a few to leverage my experience, not only in the professional life, but also in the personal life in terms of how one can build a career along with the character. Right.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Absolutely, Velu. So for the audience as such, a short introduction of Velu. My guest today has spent 23 years inside one organization, not because he couldn't leave, because he chose depth over breadth and built something from the inside out. Now, Singaravelu Ekambaram, known fondly to everyone as Velu, is a Senior Vice President and Global Head of Delivery for Cognizant Americas. He leads operational accountability across the US, Canada, LATAM, across 12 industry verticals, I think with more than over 2 lakh associates under his watch. He started with a diploma in mechanical engineering, built towards BITS Pilani, added an MBA in marketing from Symbiosis, and spent nearly a decade at West and Crompton, and then stepped into Cognizant in 2003 as a manager and never looked back. Now, today, he's on the executive leadership team of one of the world's largest IT services companies, driving AI delivery orchestration at scale. But here is what makes this conversation different. In a world that celebrates job hopping as ambition, Velu's story asks a harder question. What does staying actually build in a person? 23 years, one organization, one person went all the way in. So again, welcome to the Monday Morning Learning Podcast, Velu. Very surprised to actually see your career progression as such. And I actually love the responses on LinkedIn when I put up the announcement that I'm interviewing you. I think close to 200 likes, and a lot of people quite buzzed and excited about this interview, Velu.
Thank you, Ravi.
Great. Great. So in terms of the questions, we'll have 7 themes. We'll start with the engineer who learned to lead people. A couple of questions there. Then what global delivery actually means at scale. And we'll have leading from India for the Americas, the MBA that followed the engineer, and 2 or 3 more themes. So we'll start off with the first theme. You started as a software engineer, Velu, and rose to leading one of the largest technology delivery organizations on the planet. So at what point did you realize that the skills that made you good at the work were not the same skills that would make you good at leading it, Velu?
Yeah, so first of all, I must say that I have done a lot of podcasts and online interviews and media, white papers and so on. But this is a little different because it takes me down the memory lane to cover the entire career progression that I probably made. I think there are a lot of ups and downs, but I must admit that this is a good experience in that sense, even personally for me. Thank you for doing that, Ravi. So to answer your question, I must say that it took almost 10 years for me to realize that, being an independent contributor like a developer or a programmer is totally different from managing the team, managing a portfolio. It requires, 3 important characteristics in that sense. One is to comfortably delegate, right? And create an environment where the teamwork happens magically. And as a person, as a leader, you should also be very focused on creating the high performance team. At some point in time, I realized that it is not so much about my contribution, it is about the team's contribution. It's all about creating the high performance team. Leaders just don't focus on technology alone, even in the software industry. At some point in time, you should start looking at the business outcomes, what the customers really need to solve. It's not, they're not going to be excited about the technology that you provide, but what they are excited about is the final business outcome and the business problem that you solve for them, right? So that requires a different approach altogether. So to summarize, shifting from independent developer to delegate work to the team, work to the team, and making sure that the teamwork happens seamlessly. And you also have a mandate to create that high performance team. So delegate, team up, deliver greatness. Now, in summary, that's what should happen as you move forward.
Okay, perfect, Velu. Thank you. Now, BITS Pilani, trains you to solve hard, bounded problems. But leading delivery across 12 industry we use, 3 continents and thousands of people is never bounded. So, how did you reconcile those two ways of thinking, Velu?
So, I think in the tech industry, not necessarily IT alone, for that matter, any tech industry for that matter, you need that analytical skill. You need the problem solving skill. So that becomes a foundation for you, right? So, I mean, on top of that, your leadership skills always contribute. There are, born leaders I have seen in the company. They used to be very young, but they have their own knack of collaborating with the people. They have their own knack of getting the work done from the seniors, as a matter of fact, I would say. Right. So these are some of the inborn qualities I have observed, but the foundation is the analytical skill, the problem solving skill, which I think was very, very important for me to perform the activities even today, for that matter, right? So I'll get to that at some point in time, but to answer your question, analytical skills are the foundation. And to add it to that is the kind of experience that I had in 2 different companies. I was working for Western Crompton, one of the best companies I would really cherish for my lifetime. It was a captive requirement. We were not, of course, the company was serving multiple clients on the engineering side, but my team was very heavily focused on building engineering solutions on the software side, even the business back office, front office, back office, and engineering solutions. That was my mandate. But what happened is, when you are a captive to a company like Western Crompton, the cost factor is extremely important, because this software is not going to earn money. It is going to help them to be successful with their clients, right? So I learned the cost part of the equation extremely well when I was in Western Crompton.
Right.
When I came to Cognizant, the situation was completely different. We were paid to solve the problems of the clients. Right. So that changed the complete equation. But whenever I provided the solutions that was fully paid with a good margin, as you can imagine, my cost focus never shifted from my mind. It was always there. Probably, when I think about it, whether it is for the captive requirement, for the internal systems, or for the clients, the cost did not go out of my mind. So the combination of the foundational skill, which is analytical skill, problem solving skill, and then over time you learned how to wisely spend the money, and then you also start working at a scale for the clients and in different geographies and all that. That combination really helped me to be successful. But I'll also tell you, the great teams don't just build technology, right? So they translate that into a measurable business outcomes. That's where the magic happens.
Sure, Velu. Let's look at some moments in your career. So, are there moments from early in your career when you were still more engineer than leader that you carry into the room that with you even now, Velu?
I must tell you that it happens every day, even today. If you really look at my split of time, it is more of the proportion changed over time, but today I must say that 1/3 of my time is being an engineer, be on the ground, try to solution to solve the customer's problem. Another third of my time is probably spent to be a leader and a strategist. And then the third part of my time is mostly spent on being a mentor and coach. Of course, there is a 10% which is left for administrative activities. That's something you cannot avoid. You have to cope up with it. But I think the point is, feet on the ground is extremely important, especially in the tech world. I used to visit the offshore development center, sit with the Gen Zs in terms of how they are thinking. If you don't understand how they are thinking, I cannot create a high-performing team. When I say high-performing performing team, it is not just about the people who report into me. It's about, in my team, we have about 220,000 people. All of them have to perform. Otherwise, I cannot be successful. The company cannot be successful. Then I will not fulfill my promises as well. So I think in a summary, if I have to put it in a very concise fashion, you have to be an engineer by craft, a strategist by a vision, a mentor by purpose. That's how I would put it.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you. Now let's look at the next theme, Velu, on what global delivery actually means at scale. You've held the SVP level delivery role across healthcare, enterprise applications, and now the Americas market. Now each is a different kind of complexity. What does delivery actually mean when you are that far from the code, Velu?
Very good question, Ravi. Thank you for that. As you can imagine, the software development is not just about coding at all. It happens at the intersection of the industry and technology, right? So the industry, domain, and technology, they have to blend very well. Coding is only one part of the puzzle, right? So the industry experience, industry exposure, understanding of the business process is extremely critical.
Sure.
I am blessed with working for different industries. I'm very thankful to Cognizant for offering me such an amount of experience. The reason why I say that is, I started with the retail, consumer goods, travel, hospitality, where the scale is huge. The people walk in and walk out of the stores. And, I used to work for the largest retailer in the world. As you can imagine, probably they must be serving I don't know how many millions of customers every day. These store systems are extremely critical. Even if it goes for 1 hour downtime, the amount of business they are likely to lose is going to be huge. It's a scale that I'm talking about. If you think of the banking, financial services, or healthcare domain, it's highly regulated industries. If you don't understand the regulation, if you don't understand the industry regulations, there is no way you are going to be successful in building a technology solution.
Sure.
So that's why it happens at the cusp of the industry domain and the technology domain. Both have to come together, right? So this is where the magic happens, and it remains true even today. Whether we are advancing in AI or not, the context is extremely important for the AI as well. There are a number of tools that are available in the market, but unless you bring the industry context, the business context, or the customer context, there is no way you are going to develop an AI solution as well. So I think that is where there's a huge difference in terms of how the delivery happens at scale, keeping industry domain as a pivot by capitalizing the strength of technology.
In 23 years at one organization, you've watched leadership models come and go. What's the one thing about effective delivery that has never changed, regardless of what the methodology or the movement demanded, Velu?
I think for me, being a lifelong learner, right? So that's the one which keeps me on toes all the time. And the tech industry demands it. It's not just about me. It's about anyone who's trying to thrive in this industry. They have to be a lifelong learner. I mean, even if you sleep for a day, you'll be left behind. That's the way things are changing. The technology is getting modernized every day, and you have to keep a radar on changes that happen in the technology, especially, as you can imagine, the AI is revolutionizing the entire industry. And there are too much of nuance involved. If you don't understand it, it is going to be a problem. This is one part of the equation. The other part is understanding the industry domain and the business problems. The business process itself is changing every day. Along with the technology advancement, the business process is also changing. So you got to have a balance in terms of keeping abreast of the industry trends and the technology trends, and be the lifelong learner. So to me, every day is a classroom. Every experience is a lesson, and every challenge is a teacher. That's an opportunity. Yeah.
Sure. And when a delivery fails at scale, who observes it, and what does that look like from where you sit?
I think it's very simple. In my organization, the buck stops at me. right? So I am answerable for it. I can't blame someone if there is a security flaw. I can't blame if there is a inefficiency in the code.
Mm.
I am responsible. I am morally responsible. I am, tangibly responsible to deliver the high quality software to our clients, and that's my role. I think more than thinking about that,
Mm.
the one of the core themes that I keep in my mind is how can I create a learning organization
Mm.
that can turn every challenge into insight and every insight into an advantage. I think that's where my focus is, right? So once if I create that, then my organization is on an autopilot mode.
Yeah,
My intention is all about creating that kind of an ecosystem where people can thrive on their own.
sure.
And I don't have to intervene and help them.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Velu. So moving to the next theme on leading from India for the Americas, Velu. You're based in Chennai, leading delivery for the US. Um, Most of your clients wake up when you're actually going to sleep. What does that geographic gap ask of you as a leader that nobody prepared you for?
I think the simple answer is I got used to it. And I would also say that India IT is also used to it over a period of time. But I think I follow some discipline. For example, my day starts literally at 6:30 in the morning, and it ends at probably 10 o'clock in the night because I have to cover different time zones even within the US right now.
Mm.
But in my past, I used to wake up for Australia and sleep for West Coast in the US. That's how I used to divide my time.
Mm.
But I think you can't burn yourself working for 18 hours a day every day. That's not going to be possible. So what I do is I have my own no mails zones in the during the day where I shut my computer and just read some books and so on, at least for about 1 hour, 1.5 hours in the afternoon.
Sure.
That gives me a break, right?
Good.
So there is some self-discipline that you've got to bring.
Mm.
But I think the what I realize is the Gen Zs have figured out better than any one of us.
Mm.
They are used to it, and some of the even for that matter, outside India, some of the countries have figured this out very well, right? So this is one part of the equation. The other is
Mm.
customers are very friendly.
Right.
They are India friendly. They are friendly for other countries as well because they got used to it. We call this as a follow the sun model.
Yeah.
They wake up, they do their job, and then hand over to us, and we carry forward.
Mm.
And they are respectful of the time that we need to spend. So,
Mm.
but what happens is the shadow hours are the premium hours,
Mm.
right? So the morning and evening, and
Mm.
in between, people take a little bit of a break here and there so that they can compensate for the extended hours in the morning and evening. That's how it works.
Yep. And now leading across again US, Canada, and LATAM from India means you're always translating not just language but context and expectation. Now, where has that translation gone wrong, and what did you learn from it, Velu?
I think going back to the same theme that I explained. I think India over time has now become IT office of the world.
Right.
It's not an exaggeration, right? So this is an IT office of the world. But gone are the times where we used to have difficult times in coping up with the culture of the different countries
Mm.
where we operate from. Clients would have different expectations and so on. And, especially the young crowd,
Mm.
they used to struggle a lot. And even the companies were not in a great position to, help the customers in terms of making them understand what our culture is.
Right.
On the other hand, educating our employees to understand the cultures of the different countries where the clients are.
Mm.
This used to be a big challenge. But today, I think with the amount of exposure and thanks to Netflix and Amazon Prime,
Mm.
people exactly know how things are.
Yeah.
But having said that, the business culture is slightly different.
Mm.
We still have a bit of a challenge. So many times, when the customer wants us to say no, we never say no because the culture in India is not to say no. Try to work with the clients and so on. That has led to some challenges for me personally, right? So, I mean, when you don't say no at the right time, it can impact you because the customers will take some very drastic decisions based on your no's and yeses.
Yeah.
And that's where the focus is today. I mean, we are educating the employees to say no at the right time, which is probably appreciated than saying yes. So these are some of the cultural nuances that we are dealing with even today. But I think the companies are fully equipped. I mean, Cognizant is not only one which has figured this out. I think every company has their own approach to solve this problem today.
Sure, Velu. There's one more question follow-up. I think you actually answered in both, but I'll ask in which ways, in case you have any other insight, please share. This is basically on the clients in New York evaluate your team through outcomes. And but your team in India is a human organization with its own culture and pace. You did talk about it. So question is around how do you hold both without letting either one distort the other? Any other insights you have, or we can move on?
Yeah, so I mean, working across countries means navigating cultures. There is no doubt about it. The challenge is real, and so is an opportunity as well, right? So, and there are times where you know people don't really communicate the truth, right? So, I mean, there was a project which was tied to some of the regulatory requirements which have to be completed. Otherwise, you are going to have $1 million of penalty.
Yeah.
So that is a trigger for you to say the truth to the clients. Culturally, our folks are not tuned to it sometimes, and when they were not so open to communicate that, even though there is a mandate to complete the project on time to take care of such eventualities, they were still trying hard with all the good intentions, but they never communicated the documented risk. It's not that the risk is not documented. The risk is documented, but they were not vocal. I don't think we can expect the client to read 10 pages of risk log that you have created. It's important to use that moment where the client can really listen to you and understand and work with you to change the path or the trajectory, right? So, which was not done, and it created a huge issue for the company, and we had to quickly quench with the different, approaches and so on. So, these are some of the examples that I can think of.
No, Velu, thank you. So moving to the theme on the MBA that followed the engineer, you went back for an MBA in marketing after building years of technical credibility. What did you think you were going to learn, and what did you actually learn, Velu?
Yeah, so I think at some point in time in my career, I realized that I need a formal management coaching, if I were to say that, right? So I thought doing an MBA will be the appropriate thing, and I'm thankful for the Cognizant because it was a 18 months course. Every weekend I had to spend like 20 hours both days. It starts at I think 8 o'clock in the morning. It goes all the way till 6 o'clock in the evening, and professors were extremely good in terms of helping us. It was a strenuous effort, but then I think Cognizant sponsored me. They allowed me to focus on this, and the reason why I chose marketing is that as part of my job, I have an opportunity to work on other disciplines because it's part and parcel of my work. I don't just focus on delivery alone. I also get involved in business development and so on. Because once you go up in the ladder, you're supposed to take care of the whole 9 yards, if you will.
Yeah.
Right. So I had an opportunity to get involved in multiple other things, but I realized that marketing had its own nuances, right? So it's about managing the perception. So that is when I thought it is not just enough for me to have the core technical skills. I should also have a management skill, which will probably elevate me better than how I was at that point in time.
Sure.
And it did help me.
Sure. Great. Marketing is about perception, you just said, and how things are received, and engineering is about whether things actually work. So running a delivery organization requires both. How do those two vocabs sit inside you now?
So I deal with the cross section of people in the organization and with the customers as well, right? So when I work with the developers, my focus will be more on the shop floor activities, if you will, right? So it's more of coding, designing, and so on and so forth. But when I deal with the middle management, the intention is slightly different. The conversation is more about industry domain and focusing on problem solving for the clients, etc. And when you deal with the CXOs, right? So and the senior people even within the organization, the conversation is extremely different in terms of shaping the company, giving a direction for the people, etc., etc.
Sure.
And the common thread across all this cross section is the ability to manage the perception. And very often you deal with changes because the tech world is so dynamic. The change management becomes extremely critical. And for you to be successful, the perception plays an important role.
Sure.
And marketing is, in my opinion, is all about managing perceptions.
Yeah.
Both in good ways and bad ways, right? So, and how do you change the bad perceptions and how do you increase the good perception? And that is where I felt, the marketing really helped me.
Sure.
As a choice of discipline.
Sure. So are there moments or is there a moment in your leadership where you gave some examples, but if you have some more, where the marketing instinct saved you from the engineering instinct or the other way around, Velu?
Yeah, I mean, I can say 1,000 times, right? So, there are times where we used to present our technical solution and the software that is developed in a very factual manner, and you are so proud of the technology behind it, so you spend more time on the technology. But then we realized that's not what the customers wanted, right? So especially when you deal with the business, especially when you deal with the CXOs and the senior audience on the client side, and you have to create a strong perception around how it solves the business problems. Yeah. So that changed the entire approach of how we deal with the customers, right? So there are times where I used to take the business graduates along with me. We have the business analysts in the organization. They will present the developed software. They will demo it rather than having the coders and the developers. Right. They'll be on standby, but then these are the people who will actually talk about what the software can do. And then if there are times where there will be the customer will be extremely critical about the technology side of it, and the coders and the designers will actually pitch in and take care of it. So sure. It's about managing the perception of the audience, and it really helped. And many times we were very successful in terms of approaching it slightly different in terms of managing the perception of the clients.
Sure. Thanks, Will. We'll move to the fifth theme on the 23 years at one organization. So at Cognizant, most peers have moved 3 or 4 times in that span. So 23 years at Cognizant, most peers have moved 3 or 4 times in that span. What kept you there, and was it always the same answer, Will?
First of all, everyone knows, and I can tell you as a person who has spent time here, Cognizant is one of the best companies to work for. Culturally, they are the company is very different. The can-do attitude you will see even today. We are about 30 plus years old now. I started in 2003. When the company was hardly about $150 million in size. Today it is 21 plus billion dollars. But a lot of things have not changed. The aggression in solving the customer's problem, being at the forefront of everything, right? So, and learning, creating that learning atmosphere and so on and so forth. That kept me going. That's a primary reason. But there are times where you feel, oh my God, am I getting into a comfort zone? Am I doing the same thing time and again? The moment you get that question, you are already there in a different role, right? So that's what happened in my case. So I managed four different roles in the last 23 years, and every time when I change the role, it was a different company I worked for.
Right.
That's how the difference was,
Sure.
right? So forget about the vertical elevation. I'm talking about the lateral movement within the organization. And every time when I changed my role, I started working for a different company within Cognizant, which is one. Second, I was so fortunate to work with all the CEOs, right from the founding CEO to the current CEO. I was very fortunate to work with all the CEOs. And when you deal with a different leadership, the company changes, believe me.
Yeah.
I mean, in a very subtle fashion. I'm not saying that everything changes, but in a very subtle fashion, because everyone looks at things in a different lens, through a different lens, and things change for all good. And when you start working for different leaders, you actually feel like you work for different companies in that sense. So those are the factors that kept me going.
Sure.
And I am very, very happy, for doing that.
Great, Velu. Thank you. Again, a couple of questions on the 23 years tenure. So long tenure at one organization gives you pattern recognition that no amount of lateral movement can replicate, but it can also produce blind spots. So what are yours and how did you catch them, Velu?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a great question, Ravi. So it's natural that, the choosing loyalty over capability sometimes feels safe, but until the performance exposes the blind spot, right? So, and this is something that I have realized. You always tend to run the company like or run the portfolio like your family business.
Yeah.
It becomes natural because of the loyalty that you have from the people, and you have to be extremely careful. And that is what I learned with the changes in leadership and stuff like that, right? So you are not supposed to run a family business, even though you have loyal people under you.
Yeah.
The business comes first, the customers are important, and you have obligation to take care. And so those are the blind spots that I removed over time by learning these techniques.
Sure.
That's the biggest learning, I would say.
Sure. Velu. The one more question around that is there a version of your career that didn't stay? And what do you imagine that person learned that you didn't?
I think, probably that person would have learned the art of starting over faster. Reading probably the new cultures quickly. In my days, it took some more time. Building credibility from the scratch. Many times I used to struggle in creating the credibility. It used to be a little slower. And seeing more operating models, right? So from outside in, this company thrived like crazy. I mean, we used to grow at 40% and 50%. So we had our own way of driving the car and driving the trucks, right? So we never bothered about anything else on the road. Yeah. We had our own way of doing it. But I think those are the things that I would have possibly learned. But staying taught me something different, how to create impact over time, right? So how to shape systems instead of only entering them, recognizing the patterns. That's another thing. And so I do not see it as one path being better than other, because they simply teach different muscles, if you will. Right? Yeah. So that's how I look at it. Yeah.
Sure. So let's look at the human inside the delivery machine in the sixth theme, Velu. So you lead one of the industry's largest technology delivery organizations. That is a description of the enormous output. What is the thing you do that has nothing to do with that and that you would not trade, Velu?
I think, we are in the people business. It's all human capital. Human potential, along with the respect and dignity that people deserve. That's one thing that can never change, should not change, and will not change in my approach. Sure. That makes a difference in my opinion. Yeah.
Sure. And when you think about the leaders who shaped you most, Velu, not just professionally but as a person, who all come to mind, and what did they do that you have tried to carry forward?
I don't want to name the person, but he was somebody um, who saw the spark in me. Like I said, I was working for Western Compton, and there was a person who actually understood, and he saw the spark in terms of
Mm,
how we look at things when it comes to software development.
mm,
He actually encouraged me to focus more and more. I mean, he used to ask me to teach the people in terms of what IT can do for the businesses, right? So, a huge motivator, the
mm,
person who can understand the potential of the people,
mm.
whoever he is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And he liked diversity, right? So, I mean, diversity of skills
Yeah.
that he wanted. He's a hardcore electrical engineer,
Mm,
uh, and he could have just simply liked only the electrical nuances, but he encouraged people in the civil, mechanical, IT,
mm.
software development, so on and so forth. And he encouraged everyone with their own merits, right?
Great.
So that's a wonderful character I have never seen, and he is my role model. I try to replicate what he did for so many people who work for me as well. So this is one piece which has shaped me so well. I mean, I'm in touch with him even today. He's part of my family events and so on and so forth. That's a kind of respect I enjoy with him even today.
Mm.
Um, and he is sharp even today. It's pretty, um, you know, uh, the wisdom goes along with his age, I would say. That's how he has been shaping himself.
Mm,
But I'll also give one more flavor of it. I have learned a lot from my wife
mm,
and my from my kids,
mm.
especially I have a son and daughter. They
Sure.
taught me so many things. I mean, a lot of blind spots. They were the ones to identify and show me,
Great.
right? So, and because they observe at a distance, and
Yeah.
I'm gifted to have them give me the feedback, guide me when
Mm.
I go wrong. And these three people, my son, daughter, and my wife, they did a phenomenal job of helping me to come out of different blind spots that I had. Yeah.
Great, great. Thank you. And now, if someone 25 years into their own career listening to this particular podcast, what is the one thing you want them to walk away with that they could not have read in a leadership book, Velu?
I'm going to bring a little bit of a contrarian view here. So, I mean, people say normally that you have to enjoy the journey, don't worry about the outcomes. But to me, do not become too consumed by the journey alone,
Mm,
right? So, the keep a sight of the bigger picture, the outcomes that matter.
mm,
So, the journey is important. You should enjoy the journey. There is no doubt about it.
mm.
But the journey becomes very meaningful, purposeful when you think about the outcomes that matter,
Sure.
right? So the big picture is extremely important. So we can never, I mean, I have the habit of saying this to the people every day when you do something, you have to tie that to the big picture you have in mind.
Right.
The big picture for a month, big picture for a week, or
Mm,
big picture for a year or 10 years from now.
mm.
Doesn't matter. But what you do should tie to that. If
Sure.
it doesn't, then you're probably doing something wrong. Right?
Absolutely.
So that's my
Sure. Sure, Velu. One question not in the questionnaire I wanted to ask. How do you see your legacy, Velu? Are you actually writing a book or you already have written one? How do you see your leadership theory actually being spread across, your frameworks being spread across to other leaders, youngsters, and mid-career professionals as such?
You know, I always had an interest to write a book, but I am humbled by the kind of experience that I have, Ravi. And I'm not sure. I mean, first of all, thank you for inviting me for this kind of an opportunity. Maybe this will trigger some thoughts in that direction. But I think whenever I get an opportunity, whether it is a family or friends or my own colleagues, I try to share my experience. I try to share the challenges that I have faced and how I overcame, with the solution that I could develop and so on and so forth.
Mm,
So, I mean, disseminating the knowledge comes naturally to me.
Sure.
I mean, I don't keep anything with me at all. In fact, I think that only by disseminating the knowledge, your wisdom grows.
Yeah.
So I'm a strong believer of that. That's what I try to do, and I'll keep doing that. Probably, probably in the next couple of years, I may think of writing a book. Right.
You should, for sure. So looking at, I'm not calling this the last theme. I've got a bit of time, so I've got more questions for you. So looking at the theme, what AI does to the delivery leader's job, Velu. So you hold a Microsoft AI Business School certification and lead technology delivery at a time when AI is restructuring what delivery even means. So what is AI changing about your job, and what is it making irrelevant that you used to spend a lot of time on?
I think I would say that the industry is at the peak of the exciting moment, I would say. I mean, the AI is revolution. I mean, I have seen so many the modernization in the technology in the last 3 decades, but nothing like the way things are happening today.
Yeah.
I have seen the dot-com era. I have seen the shift from mainframe to distributed systems. I've seen the the excitement of using Java, .NET, etc. But AI is nothing like that, especially the agentic AI, right? So, and this is remarkable, right? So this is the exciting moment, and it also means that people have to be completely in grip of what's going on. It's not just about understanding the concepts and theory behind it. It's about having the touch and feel of it, right? So this is in the public domain, so I can quote this.
Sure.
Cognizant conducted a vibe coding weeks, a couple of weeks. It's called vibe coding. Vibe coding is a technique that you may be familiar in the AI, and we chose multiple tools, and we said anyone can do the vibe coding. Doesn't matter if you have not done coding in your life. Doesn't matter at all. You can choose, for example, I don't want to name the tool, but there are tools that are available for people who have never done coding in their life.
Yeah.
You don't need to understand the syntax. You don't need to have any coding knowledge. So we chose multiple tools like that, and depending on the demography of the people, they can choose what are the tools they want. Believe me, the people in finance and administration and so on, they actually develop better tools.
Wow.
Compared to others. And the intention is very simple. Our CEO had a very clear vision that everyone should understand and appreciate what AI can do for the businesses.
Sure.
And we are the customer zero. So if the ecosystem gets developed for the customer zero, the end customers can be easily managed. That was the intent he had.
Sure.
And it was such a successful, and the outcome was 40,000 plus solutions were created, and it was evaluated by top consulting firms. With the kind of excitement that we had, we actually filed for a Guinness record.
Wow.
And today we are the largest. We have the largest vibe coding community in any company.
Excellent.
So we got even. So the reason why I'm bringing that point is that it actually creates that kind of an excitement when you try to get into AI, and it also gives you an opportunity to learn, right? So I mean, if you don't learn, if you don't create initiatives such as this, the ecosystem will not get developed. Everyone from the bottom to top should learn this. So that's where the focus is, and the companies are doing a remarkable job. It's not just about Cognizant alone, but everybody is doing a beautiful job on that. Yeah.
Great. So 2 more questions around that. Teams you lead are partly building AI solutions for clients and partly being changed by AI themselves. So how do you talk to your own people about that honestly? And one of the last questions is, what's the one thing about human delivery at scale that you're confident no tool will replace in your professional lifetime? These 2 questions, right?
Yeah. So I think the junior layer has moved on. They don't have anything to unlearn in that sense, right? So they have been learning very easily, and they're adapting the technology very well. and they don't have any baggage, so it becomes very easy for us. And organization is also becoming very flatty, right? So it's a flat organization that we are trying to create. It has changed the ecosystem very differently now. But the middle layer is where the problem is. Middle layer has to do a lot of unlearning, right? So I mean, there are even people who are not able to appreciate the kind of impact the AI is going to create, right? So the days to come. So that's where the change management becomes extremely important for us to convince them that this is the future for the company. It may not happen today to the extent that we are visualizing. The traditional systems are still continuing. Maybe we are talking about 70-30, but it can easily flip 30-70 over a period of next few years. And we have to be prepared. And that's a challenge that probably the industry, the IT industry is struggling with a little bit to manage the change within. But I think the ecosystem is fast evolving. It's a question of time where everyone will understand that if you don't take up AI will take you over. So that's as simple as that. On the second question that you asked, what cannot be replaced? I think it's a judgment. It's a human judgment, right? So at scale, delivery is just not about producing output alone. It's about making trade-offs, especially under uncertainties, understanding the context of the industry and business problems and so on. And finally, taking the responsibility of the consequences, right? So AI, has its own problems. Hallucination is one of the issues that people talk about. So that's where the human judgment, plays a very important role. And tools can accelerate analysis, they can do the routine work, and so on and so forth. But it cannot replace the human ability to balance the customer trust, the business priorities, and probably the talent dynamics, as a matter of fact, right? So the team dynamics and talent dynamics, and also understand the risk in real time, right? So the LLMs can do that, but still, the human judgment plays a very important role in terms of capitalizing the technology. That's where I would think, it will make a difference.
Sure, Velu. I've got a bit more time, so one more theme. And this will be benefited for the students and young professionals. That's the reason why I'm asking you, Velu. Now, you started with a diploma in mechanical engineering, not a degree. Now, at the time, how did that feel relative to peers who had taken a more direct route? And looking back, what did that path give you that a straight degree might not have, Velu?
I think there are different reasons why I had to jump in, because I was very particular about engineering, and for different reasons, family reasons, and all that. And I wanted to quickly qualify myself as an engineer and start my engineering career very quickly. And I got into CAD/CAM. I was so blessed to start with CAD/CAM, a white collar job, even though I did a mechanical engineering. And once I got into CAD/CAM, I realized that there's a lot more I have to learn. It is not just enough to stay with the diploma. So that's when I quickly got into. I mean, in a matter of time, I took a very quick decision. In fact, the mentor that I talked about, he was the one to say that, no, man. I mean, masters is minimum qualification one should have, not even an undergraduation. Masters is a minimum qualification you need to have. Everything happened very seamlessly in a matter of 5 years. I mean, I completed, 6 years rather, right? So I completed my graduation and I completed my master's consequently. And I was lucky to be selected in BITS, and, everything happened so nicely. So I think the point is, I still remember what my mentor said. Masters is the minimum qualification. So today, that's exactly I told my son and daughter, and both of them are masters in engineering and many other disciplines. So.
Sure. So, just a couple more questions before I end. Now, there's a version of this story where the diploma is a footnote. Instead, it became the foundation. So, what does that say about how we should be thinking about non-linear entry points into technical careers? The follow-up question to that is that for a student or a young professional today, Velu, who feels they're starting from a lower rung, what would you tell them about relationship between the starting point and the ceiling as such?
My biggest regret in my life is I did not do a PhD. So, right. So nothing stops you as long as you can think logically,
Sure.
right? So, and if I had enough of time along with my career, I would have easily done a PhD. But I think few of my colleagues have tried that and they were successful. They did a PhD.
Mhm.
Uh, so where I'm going is nothing stops you in learning,
Yeah.
and PhD helps you to make you a thorough professional in a lot of sense, right? So especially for the tech industry.
Mm.
Uh, in fact, I'm actually thinking, like the way my mentor said, masters is the minimum qualification you need to have.
Mm.
I'm going to tell my guys that PhD is the minimum that you have to pursue, right? So because it changes your approach,
Mm.
changes your thinking pattern,
Mm.
become more of a research scholar. Not that you just do only research, but it helps you in creating ability to solve the problems better than anybody else, because PhD is all about problem solving, creating very different unique solutions and so on and so forth. I think that's what I would think.
Sure. I was speaking to one of the directors of Tata Institute of Fundamental Research just the other day, uh, Dr. Rajesh Gopalan, basically. So he was also sharing the metrics that in India we have just 25 PhDs per 1 lakh population, whereas in China it is, I think, almost more than 144, and in US I think it's less than around 400. So he was actually saying that we need to have more PhD candidates in India, and point taken very well that you said, a deeper kind of problem solving can be possible once someone actually goes to a PhD. So I'll take that from you. So thanks a lot for your time, Velu. I think we've covered a lot. In this particular podcast, we started off with your journey in terms of the engineer who learned to lead people. We looked at global delivery actually means at scale, and leading from India for the Americas was one theme. The MBA that followed the engineer, 23 years at one organization, couple of questions down there. The human inside the delivery machine, and what AI actually does to the delivery leader's job. So, really, thank you for the time that you spent, and I'm looking forward to your book, Velu, when it comes. I'm actually writing some books for corporate leaders as of now, and it's been quite an insightful journey for me because you learn a lot when you actually write something. As that's been my journey. But thanks a lot for your time. Anything else you want to say before we conclude?
No, I think in summary, I would actually say, because it's kind of a leadership theme. I would say that great leadership is not built by title or the tenure that you spend or the technical brilliance alone, right? So it is built by the ability to keep learning, which is very important, to take responsibility at scale, and to never lose sight of the human beings inside the system, which I think is extremely important. I give a lot of weightage to the human beings. Um, in one statement, if I have to say, the true mark of leadership is not how much you control. It's about the the capability you unlock in others who work for you.
Great.
That will make a difference. Thank you, Ravi.
Thank you so much for your time, Velu.
Thank you. Appreciate it.